Hello viewers, Flash Motorsport here. Today we're going to take a look at the Forza AI, or Drivatar as they're also known. With update 5 coming not far away and them announcing updates and changes towards the AI system in general, I thought why not take a look at what the AI is like at the moment. So we are at Watkins Glen. We're going to do a 10 lap race. I have the Drivatars at maximum, which is 8. And I decided to use my Honda Civic because I haven't had that at the garage in a long time. Pull over to the right hand side, let everybody pass, and just basically see what is going on with the AI at the moment, because I have done a fair few races off camera with the AI. I did Maple Valley and that was horrific. They were battering me around left, right and centre, pit manoeuvring me, and it was just utter chaos, to be quite honest. I know it's quite a fast track, but I thought, okay, let's have a look at Watkins Glen and see what that track's going to be like. Now, this track wasn't the best either. I find that the AI was randomly braking, like this Honda Civic to left hand side, massively out braking for the corner, letting the Vogue take up and then backing out from the Vogue as well as me. It's like they massively want to avoid any form of contact, or if they sense another vehicle around them, they will go so far out of their way to avoid being anywhere near that vehicle that they will go off track to avoid the situation. And if they don't want to avoid the situation, they stick to the racing line like absolute glue. Whether a car's there or not, they will batter you out of the way to stick to that racing line. Another thing I've also noticed, if you have a look at the map now, we're pretty much the latter end of the pack, so it seems to be separating everybody out into 3 packs. So you get this back end of the pack I'm in now, you have a mid pack which is probably about 5 to 10 cars, and then players 1, 2, 3 and 4 are roughly so far ahead that you need 10 laps to catch them back up. Now we just crossed over the start finish line. We're now starting lap 2, but you can see the Honda Civic is still keeping a huge gap away from the Vogue in front. It's like it doesn't want to race. Now, although I'm catching the Honda Civic up now, I am in a bit of tow. I do have to constantly let off the throttle to try and stay behind the Civic. Now the Civic should have had a bit of tow from the Vogue in front. It's got to be within 0.8 seconds there, and especially it was within that time frame coming out that first corner. So I don't understand why it's so slow through here. As we're coming through the inner loop here, the Honda Civic massively outbrakes itself and the Vogue brakes mid-corner, thus creating a huge gap from the car in front of it and nearly making me rear-end it. So the Honda Civic now massively outbrakes for no reason. The Vogue brakes mid-corner, creating this gap that we see in front of us now for no apparent reason. I just don't understand why it braked mid-corner, because there was nothing around it besides me being behind it. So as we're going to catch up to this next couple of cars in front of us, if you have a look at the cars behind, now look at the gap that it's just created from that one corner. It's like it saw me and absolutely bricked itself. Now, I know my graphics design isn't the best on this car, but there's no need to be that scared about it. Now we're coming over the start finish line. I've already made 2 places up because I don't know why they're going so slow out of that last corner compared to me, you know. I didn't push my way through that last corner to the extent that I have such a slingshot move that I can overtake 2 cars in that kind of fashion. But right now you look at coming on the outside of this Golf. This Golf for some reason pushes me so far over, I go into the wall. Okay, it wasn't the best of overtaking opportunities, but you see the difference with the AI. 1 minute they're so scared of me they'd only be anywhere near, and then the Golf decides that I'm invisible and pushes me into the wall. It's all over the place really, but now we're away from the cars behind again and catching up to the cars in front of that pack. You can see on the map the gap I'm leaving from them behind. It's quite peculiar because you'll notice this throughout the whole of the race. Now as I catch up to other cars, they become a little bit faster. As soon as I've overtaken those cars and created a little bit of gap, it's like they give up. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, so write it in the comments, but it's really weird how I can be beside the car and suddenly I'm struggling to actually get past them. And as soon as I'm past them and create a little bit of gap, let's say a second or second and a half gap, the gap massively increases after that. It's like they've given up and go, well, we've done our job, we tried. It really does. It does, it makes me laugh. I've never noticed it before. I have done the career races, well, 1 or 2 of them, before I joined the touring car series, but I never noticed it to this extent. I mean, look how quick I'm overtaking everybody here. And again, I was overtaking the Vogue on that same corner, same as the Golf, and it acts like I wasn't there, even though I was going good 10 or 15 miles per hour faster than it. Skipping ahead to overtaking this Ford Focus on the inner loop, I create an unusual situation for the Ford Focus here. I decided to position myself beside the Focus and then back out of the corner, creating the ultimate confusion. Now, in reality, if it was a human player, I'm pretty sure they would have just committed to that corner. It can go through two abreast if you're going slow enough and being considerate enough. It is tight, yes, but it can be done, and we've all seen it happen and done before. That Focus threw itself right wobbly, had no idea what I was doing, and decided to throw itself to the wolves. I mean, we wasn't really going fast enough for somebody to lose control, so for it to react in the manner it did, it was a huge overreaction on the AI side of things. Catching up to the MG in front, we have the best livery of the whole race. Now, some eagle-eye viewers may be able to see it right now, but as we catch up to it, take a look at that livery. I couldn't help it. I was laughing all the way through the end of this lap. I was in another place on that one. The maturity level wasn't at an all-time low for that one. I don't know. I just love it how the AI thought, that's the livery I'm going to use. Jumping ahead to race number 2. Now, in this race, I'm going to give it all this car's got to try and keep up with the cars in front and not be at the back of the pack. See what's going to go on mid-pack towards the front of the pack, because I didn't catch the leader at the end of the last race. Already some shenanigans happen. Cars are braking for no reason. Instead of moving over to the right hand side, they just brake, thus creating what I would say would be an accident. So I gained a massive amount of positions just from that one or two cars coming together, locking up and getting confused and just braking just to avoid any form of contact, rather than using the rest of the track. As you can see, I don't get sideswiped by the Audi in my left hand side, but we are catching up to the Link in the front. Remember, our braking zone down here is the ambulance and the hut on the left hand side. If you look in the mirror, the Link brakes far earlier than me. Just look at the gap it's created from the early braking, and then I plow into the back of the Audi in front of me for no apparent reason whatsoever, but everybody just brakes like anything on that corner because they're trying to create a gap on the player in front, or the AI in front, or whatever you want to call them. Talking about in front, see how far away that car is in front of me right now, just from the Hyundai braking on that corner excessively to create an invisible gap they don't actually need because they're too scared of being around other cars. These shenanigans is what's causing position 1, 2 and 3 to be so far ahead that the cars in the mid-pack cannot keep up whatsoever because they're too scared of being around other vehicles. But as we catch up to P1, 2 and 3, you'll notice that they're so excessively faster and more aggressive that there's a reason they're so far ahead compared to everybody else. Everybody else is very defensive, passive, whatever, trying to stay away from anything around them, where 1, 2 and 3 is so aggressive that they just want to get away and ram their way through everything. Surprisingly though, the Hyundai behind me is trying to keep up, where in the previous video they were, once you've overtaken them, giving up. This one is actually putting in for battle. But if you look ahead at the Ford Focus in front, they're about 1.5 seconds away from me. We're coming through this inner loop. I've just gained all that whole 1.5 seconds up and overtaken them. I have no idea what happened there. From what it looks like to me, that they took the corner a bit too shallow and then just braked like anything for no apparent reason, when they could have just literally glided through there pretty much straight as an arrow, but they didn't. So that's position gained for no apparent reason besides a bit of weirdness for the AI. And then you have a look in the mirror, the Focus is so far behind me now, it's like they're giving up on a race. Look at the map. I'm going through this next corner now. How many seconds are they away from coming this corner? 1.5 seconds away behind me? There's no way I've gained 3 seconds within a quarter of a lap on that Focus, considering their position in the race already. The inconsistency on that is mind-boggling, because they're in position 3 and then suddenly they're so slow they would have been quicker at the back of the pack. It makes no sense. If you look at the map now, position 1 is a good 2.5 seconds away from me right now, and position 2 is about 1 second or 1.5 seconds away. So they have their own little gap in front, and I'm creating a larger gap to the car behind. So player 1 is about 6 seconds away from that Ford Focus I've overtaken, because that Ford Focus has just gone through the inner loop, whilst I'm going through the outer loop, catching up to the green car in front of me now. Now I understand mistakes can be made in racing, and we've all made mistakes where we lost a few seconds, but that is quite excessive, and it doesn't seem like it wants to be catching up. It's like they've given up, and the Hyundai, if you have a look, is right on that Ford Focus on the map. It looks like the Hyundai can't get past the Ford Focus either, which in itself is very weird. So take a look at the map now. We're about 3 seconds away from player 1. They're just going through the first corner now, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds away from that position now. I'm going to make a move on this Golf, overtake this Golf, and we're going to skip ahead of time because I want to try and catch up to P1. And we're going to see where that Golf is in comparison on lap 9 away from us and the player 1 position. At the end of lap 9, start of lap 10, I have caught up to an extent the car in P1. I am struggling to try and catch it, I'm not going to lie. They are putting one hell of a good battle up. But as you can see, we're starting to lap cars in front. And the Golf I overtook, which is position 3, is nowhere to be seen on the map. They're just coming around that first corner now, I'd say. So let's say they're about 5 or 6 seconds behind me. I'm about 3 seconds away from the Golf in front. Like I say, I'm in the Honda Civic, they have the Golf. They're about on par with each other. The Civic's probably faster in a straight line, but the Golf is better on the corners. If you ever think about it, that's about near enough 9 to 10 seconds away from P1 to P2. It's weird, it's like they're giving up on the race. I mean, not being funny, that Golf in P2 should be on par with the Golf in P1. They're both the same vehicles. See, now the Golf is just going through the inner loop as we're just coming down the back straight. Now, I understand I have a substantial lead, but the cars are on maximum difficulty, and I'm not in the fastest car in the game. So I really should be having a good old battle with these. But as we're going to come over the start of finish line, let's have a look at how far that Golf is actually behind us, because I'm only guessing at the moment, but that will give us a good indication of where the stack lies. We should all cheer because I did get podium. So we have a look at the lap now. We are 12:54.99 and the Golf did a 13:11.288. So they're 16 seconds away from me, but their PI rating is also different to the two Golfs in front. I did set it all to touring cars, so I'm not too sure why the PI rating is different. It could justify why there was such a time difference to an extent, but if you think about it, the previous laps in the race, the Golf did keep up with the Golf in front to an extent. Having 16 seconds overall is quite a substantial gap than what it was in the previous part before I overtook the Golf. If you've noticed any other weirdness with the AI system in place, let me know down in the comments below because I'd love to hear what you got to say. We're going to move on now to my tuning guide and my specific tune on the MG that I use and how I created that tune and my reasoning behind it. Now I would like to throw in that my tune is not the best. It's only a guide. You know, if you can use this and then improve upon it, do so. And let me know how you found the tune and what you changed to make it better for yourself. So to kick things off, the tyre pressures are 30 at the front, 31 psi at the rear. The gearing is set to 3.47, although that does change depending on the track. The alignment is set to minus 1.4 for the front, minus 0.6 for the rear, minus 1, and 6 degrees camber. Front anti-roll bars is 13.84 and 24.77 respectively. It's softer at the front, so I'll get a better biting on the corners. For the springs and the dampening, I haven't really fiddled with them very much than what I can remember. I have made the ride height at the lowest setting, but these are my setup. I can't remember what the normal default setup is, so I can't remember if I've adjusted them or not, to be quite honest with you. I'm pretty sure I didn't adjust the anti-dive and anti-squat, but I did maximize the front downforce and removed all rear downforce. I like to have that front end grip, as well as I haven't touched the brake balance or nothing like that, but the differential acceleration 100% at the front and deceleration at 0%. But that's about it, all I've touched on there. Like I say, I didn't really fiddle too much with the suspension, spring rate and dampness to what I recall, but just double check what the default is and look at mine and see if they're the same. Right, we're going to start a race now. I'm going to go over to the right hand side and show you on a racing standpoint what I chose to do and why I chose to do it. So we're going to put up the telemetry screen or the HUD on here now. Let all these cars pass. create a good little bit of gap, and then I'm going to smash out a lap to get the tires nice and hot, and that will give us a better reading. So now we're coming over start and finish line. The car's still quite a bit ahead of me, and my tires are going to be nice and warmed up. So I'm going to bring up the screen now as we pass through this first corner. You see I do have a lot of fuel in, and I've got medium set of tires on. I didn't bother changing all that, just left it as it is. So if you look at the tire temperatures, inner, middle and outer, that's the markers you've got to really pay attention to. As I'm going through these corners now, you see the tires temperatures as I put the load on per wheel change. Now you've got to try and make these tire temperatures match as closely as you can, and that gives you the knowledge of the contact being perfectly even on the road. As you can see that the inner and outer temperatures of my tires are different to the middle temperature. That's because I don't have enough air in the tires. I deliberately run my tires a little bit under the recommended PSI to have a better grip. The depreciation factor of this is I have a slower top end speed due to the drag created by the lower pressure tires. It literally is by percentages here though, but these percentages are what matters the most. As you can see, I'm going through this corner now. The inner and outer tires are pretty much matching each other. That's because the way I've adjusted the toe and camber of the vehicle, so the tires are pretty flat on there at the moment, and as, like I say, the tire temperatures are quite even. Now it's the same again for the rear tires. You want to get the rear tires to be as even as possible, but as you can see, my rear tires are much cooler than the front tires. There's a couple of reasons for that. A, this car is a front wheel drive and front wheel turning. Their back tires are just there along for the ride, but I could increase the tire pressures on the rear a little bit more, but that would increase the chance of the back end coming around and sliding out due to the bite level of the vehicle. Now if you have a look at the screen I've got now, it's showing you the tire temperatures. Tire temperatures on racing tires are pretty good, so I think they're about 110 psi. Someone can correct me in the comments on that one, but you don't want to really exceed too far past that. And obviously you don't want to get them too cool either. You want them between about 95 to 105 in a good range of temperature. Again, my analysis might not be perfect, but it's what I've learned over the course of all this racing. If you also look at the camber in the middle of the screen, if you ever look at the degrees it's set at right now, you never ever, unless you're bouncing on a curb, want to see that hit the positive. If you look at the rears, it's just on the zero, just breakneck zero on the rear left hand side as I was going through that corner. You never want to see it in a positive light. You always want to have it on a negative. As we approach this next corner now, have a look at the rear left camber as I go through this corner. You see it's just bounced on the positive just a little bit there, but most of it is at minus 0.1 to 0.2. That's almost flat to the tarmac, almost perfectly even on the tarmac. Let's say there's the angle of the track and everything like that all makes a massive difference, and really it should be adjusted per track. You should have a tune per different tracks there are, because you maximize the tune per track then. But as a generic thing I'm using now, it's pretty much on point there. As I can say, going through these corners now, it's only really hitting the positives when I'm bouncing on a surface of the road or on a curb or on a bit of dirt, as you can see. But that's pretty much my tune and my tuning guide on how I set up the vehicle. Again, you adjust the anti-roll bars. The softer they are at the front, the more bite you get into a corner, but obviously the more swing you get on the vehicle as well, from left to right as the weight transfers over. The harder you have the anti-roll bars, the more flat your car is going to go through those corners. So adjust anti-roll bars accordingly to what your preference is. I quite like them soft, as you've seen them on there, but a lot of other people like it hard and have the car straight and flat. I find it corners better with a little bit of movement in there, so the weight can sit onto that tyre and make it dig in a little bit more. And I'm just playing around with the other screens here to see what else we got to play with. But that, like I say, that's pretty much my tune. If you have any more questions, let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. I shall see you all next time.